It is a huge honor for me to be at the 14th annual Townie Meeting 2016 in Las Vegas, and I ran into Todd Snyder. How are you doing, Todd?
Doing great, Howard. Thanks for having me be here today.
Oh my God! You lecture. So you're a cosmetic restorative dentist in Laguna Niguel, which is by Newport Beach.
Correct.
And you lecture. You basically lecture all over the place.
I do. I've got the luxury of getting to speak in many different countries and all over the United States, getting to meet a lot of great people.
Yeah, you've lectured from here to Dubai. I mean,
yeah, it's been fun. You know, some of the trips going for a week or two is a little tough on the business. You know, the practice of dentistry. I run a business just like every other dentist, and so that's a bit crippling. But it's fun to get out and see things.
You know, that is the law of unintended consequence. I never ever thought when I accepted my first. I was born in Kansas, and I moved to Phoenix. And then I started lecturing. I never thought that the gift of that would be that you would get to see all the countries and continents, and it is very rewarding. So, what do you like to lecture on? How would you, first of all, how would you describe your general practice, and what's hot and got you passionate? What are you excited about today?
You know, anything you can do to help a person, make them feel better, change their world. That's what really gets me going. And so cosmetic dentistry is nice, and that's what I really have focused on in my career is, having someone who has, less than ideal teeth, and it's holding them back from being social, and they cover their smile, when they talk. And so to have someone like that light up and just to change their world, their opportunities, maybe a new job, maybe a new significant other, that's a lot of fun. But, I still do restorative dentistry just like every other guy. And so fixing a tooth for someone is certainly a wonderful thing. They come in pain, they leave thanking you because now it no longer hurts, they can eat again and go about their day. So it makes you feel good that you can offer a service to help someone's health and long-term, lifespan and opportunities. So that's what I really get a joy out of still. And so as far as lecturing on it, I like sharing, my practice kind of philosophy and sense, but throwing in research that I've done at U.C.L.A. and other places, and tying in new technology and other people's research, and kind of helping other dentists understand some of the things that are available that might make life easier for them in their practices. Not that everyone does anything the same, but at least it's some ideas of maybe something you might want to think about that could make life simpler. For example, AMD lasers. It's amazing how a lot of people don't have a laser. And so it's like, wow, how much easier is life once you have one? Think of wearing loupes. If you lose your loupes or they're broken, life's more challenging again. And so lasers, if you haven't had one, it's like, okay, well, you don't realize how good it is once you have one. And so just trying to share little tidbits like that with people, I think makes all the difference when you're out speaking.
What's amazing to me is, when the first DVR came out, it was $800 and it sucked. And now they're $50 and they're amazing. And when I got out of school, you and I both know that an Nd:YAG was $50,000.
Yeah.
And now the price is down to, what's an AMD at now?
Show special is $3,500, I believe. My first laser.
But how much was your first laser?
$35,000 with 22 watts of energy. I could cook a turkey. And now, 3 watts, $3,500. It's like, man, you can have one of these in every operatory and make a lot of money very easily, but you're helping the patient because it heals faster and has less discomfort. So it's like, why wouldn't you have one?
So, there's two advantages of a laser. Number one, when you need a unique selling proposition. When you say you're a laser dentist, so I have a friend of mine, and he says he's going to shoot me if I say his name. But he in Phoenix, he always advertises laser foot surgery. Okay. And he's the first one to tell you, he says, I can take a 15 blade for $1, make an incision, and cut that corn off a lot faster. But he says, I do it with a laser just because on that laser foot surgery billboard, it is a cash cow. Do you use the laser for marketing also?
I can honestly say that it's very rare you'll ever see any marketing in my practice on lasers. It just talks about restorative dentistry and things we offer. So it's not something where I'm touting that, because sometimes when I have seen it touted, you get some interesting people coming through the door that you may not want.
Oh, really?
I think you can fix everything with a laser sometimes. So no, it has a benefit that you can truly have things heal faster and have less discomfort, and bacteria can't colonize an area for about 4 weeks or more. And so you actually have healthier tissues that are happier, and the patient's better off. And yeah, it's a little slower than a scalpel for some things, but I think the benefit of not suturing, having a dry environment, there's so many other benefits is why we use it. So yeah, I agree. It's not faster, but has some phenomenal capabilities. But I don't see it as a marketing tool personally for me. But I think a lot of people do use it in that fashion.
What do you use AMD for? Is that your go-to laser?
I have just about every diode laser ever invented, as well as CO2s and ND-YAGs and some hard tissue. So I've been lecturing on lasers since '94. So it's been great to see all the improvements.
So was that just a passion of yours, or why do you have every laser since 1994?
You know what? I got involved right out of school with a laser company in Irvine. And so since it was close to U.C.L.A., they wanted us to do some research and work with them on some things. And so that's kind of how I got involved with it. And I also saw the benefits after having it put in my practice for a test drive for 90 days, so to speak. I saw the benefits of what it could do for my patients and my skills to not have to manage all the hassles of bleeding and pumping in hemostatic agents and putting more cords in and all these fun things that we've all had to do. And I said, wow, this makes life easy and quick. Why wouldn't I have this? And so for $35,000, like, yeah, I can see how much money I've made in the last couple of weeks. I can pay for this thing. So it was a no-brainer at that point once I had tried it. Now, most companies won't give you that kind of test drive experience anymore. But when I see $3,500, I just kind of laugh and go, yeah, no problem, I'm done. Sign me up. I think the benefits outweigh everything else.
So what percent of the time on a crown prep are you packing cord versus doing a laser? Or you sometimes do a laser and pack cord?
I still pack cord on some occasions. Usually it would be in a let's say a thin biotype in the anterior where I'm doing a cosmetic case, and I don't want to worry about any kind of slight tissue change. I may still pack a very small, like 00, 000 cord. But for the most part, I'd say 80-something% of my dentistry is done with a laser, as far as if I have to manage any soft tissue, frenectomies, aphthous ulcers, hyperplastic tissue, whatever it is, around implants or teeth, 80-something% of the time, it's with a laser.
And you're a cosmetic dentist too. I mean, you're accredited in the AACD.
Yeah, I'm accredited, but I'm a general dentist. It's just a nice little accolade to have after my name. I still dig a ditch in the tooth, one tooth at a time, just like everyone else. I'm
curious if you seem to be really into lasers for a really long time. I'm just curious, what other technology? Are you a CAD/CAM guy? Or are you a CBCT guy?
When I was at U.C.L.A., we helped CEREC, when we had the CEREC 1A, 1B, and 2, and we helped them develop the veneer software. So I've been around CEREC a long time. I don't have one in my practice, but I've worked with one for many years. And when I was an associate in some offices, I had one. I was lecturing for Vita right out of dental school, doing a lot of porcelain work. So I have porcelain furnaces and stack porcelain occasionally. So I'm passionate about those. I'm passionate about some of the great new technology software things that implement to make business easier for us and for our front office so we can work more efficiently. I lecture on restorative procedures with impressions and temporaries. So after 22, 23 years of lecturing now, I've kind of lectured on just about every subject, it would seem like. Cone beam CTs, I don't have one at this point. I've got a guy in a Mercedes Sprinter van that'll come around if I need it. He charges $150 a scan, so it's kind of like, it's so easy. I just haven't gotten into owning one of those yet.
Right, you just have access to a CBCT. Exactly. You shouldn't buy one for $100,000. And I also think it's interesting that you don't have a $150,000 CAD/CAM. So many people are made to believe that you just have to have one, and there's just so many amazingly high-tech dentists like yourself that don't have one. You just haven't seen the need to drop the money.
I think it's a phenomenal system, and seeing where it's gone to from where I was playing with it back in the day, it's night and day. And if I had a large practice with numerous associates, personally, I could see a benefit for me at that point. I know there's private practitioners that have a benefit for it, and that's great. We all practice differently. For me, to take the time out to go ahead and have an employee or myself to machine it and stain it and glaze it and all that extra stuff, personally, in my time, I could be doing other dental procedures to make money, and that's why I hire my lab, to go ahead and fabricate things for me.
So are you taking impressions, or are you oral scanning?
I have 3 oral scanners, and I have traditional impression materials. And since I'm a member of the Catapult group, we evaluate a lot of the products out there, so I have just about every impression material available. Or since I lecture for many of these companies, they give them to me ahead of time to evaluate before they bring them forward. So I'm kind of very fortunate to be in this role to get to play with a lot of things and see what I feel works in my hands, and then try and share that with some of the people when I'm giving my presentations.
So first of all, you got to explain what Catapult Group is. I know what that is, but some of the listeners won't.
Catapult Group is formed by Lou Graham, and it's a speakers consortium of about 40 of us that are individual private practitioners, researchers, faculty, professors in universities. We have a vast array of different individuals that make up this group. And then we also have everyday dentists that are also part of the group that evaluate products and help bring that information forward so we can have a very large think pool of different types of cross-sections of dentistry using these products to evaluate them. So we write articles on the various products, we do research, and we also publicly speak to try and inform people on what's...
And I have a song by Lou Graham. Is that the Lou Graham you're talking about?
I think that's a different Lou Graham.
That's not the Lou Graham that sang Midnight Blue?
I don't think so, but I would love to get him to do the karaoke to that.
It's funny because every time I hear Catapult or think of Lou Graham, I always think of the song first. I love that. I love that song by Lou Graham. Maybe that's why I subconsciously love the Lou Graham and Catapult so much.
You need to get a karaoke machine in here and get Lou Graham in here to sing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lou Graham's amazing. And who's his Batman and Robin partner in San Antonio?
San Antonio
or Texas?
Tony or Dave Little.
Dave Little.
He's another one of the Catapult group. There's
He's
about 40
amazing.
of us.
And there's a pediatric dentist in Canada.
Yes. I'm having a blank on her name right now.
She is amazing.
Yes.
You guys got some of the best speakers out there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm very fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah. Lou, is Lou the ringleader?
You know,
or Dave Little,
he is. I heard Gary Rads had a part in the initial kind of conception of the whole product, so I don't want to leave him out and be in trouble.
Who's the president or who's the
Lou
CEO?
runs the whole thing.
Lou runs the whole thing. He's out of Chicago, right?
Yeah, and then we have a kind of a board, so to speak, that helps to manage things.
Tell Lou he should do a podcast with me and explain his whole group.
Lou, you got to come do a podcast with Howard Farran here at Dental Town.
And you got to sing Midnight Blue. You got to open up the podcast by singing Midnight Blue by Lou Graham. So you said you've demoed 3 different oral scanners. You have 3 in your office?
I have the Carestream 3500.
Carestream 3500.
Soon to have the new 36, which just got launched at the Chicago Midwinter. GC just launched theirs. I forget the name of it. It's an acronym I can't remember. Theirs is forthcoming. It just got launched in Chicago, so it's on the way to the practice. And then I have 3M's product as well.
And what's 3M's called?
Good question. I don't recall the name. It's being delivered this week. And so I'll be playing with that one as well. So
you haven't touched yet the GC and the 3M. So you've been
I just have the Carestream so far.
And you know what? So it seems like in my zip, of my friends, my homies in Phoenix, it seems like a lot of people, they sold 14,000 CEREC machines. I don't know how many E4Ds. I hear 1,500, 2,000, 1,500 about. But it seems like, some of them buy it and just love it to death. And they got raving fans, and that's all great. And I've had the CEREC 1, the 2, the 3. Other people bought the CEREC machine and didn't really commit to learning. Now it's an expensive coat hanger rack. But it seems like a lot of them, and it's growing, are just using the oral scanning device and saying, you know what? The oral scanning makes the most sense, not having my assistant be a lab man, because, we used to have a patient for an hour. We numb, prep, impress, temporize to be out, come back later 2 weeks later for half an hour. And now they're in there for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. And in that time, I could have done 3 crowns.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But I know the guys love it, and I'm not going to,
Yeah, because we all practice differently.
Right.
But it seems like the oral scanning thing might be, the biggest fit.
Well, and that's what I'm kind of seeing right now is I'm getting to evaluate these different products. And so far, having played with the Carestream, I go, wow, this does make life a lot easier. Now, you still have to manage tissues really well. You have to control moisture and bleeding. So, if you can't control those, and we know right now 90% of impressions going to the lab have flaws in them, a la Gordon Christensen and research in the Journal of Prosthetic Dentistry. So knowing we have that many problems, your scanner's not going to change that if you still can't manage tissues properly. But it will show you where you have problems in your preparation design, the same as CAD/CAM, which is great. So you can see if you have a flawed margin. And so then it's just a matter of honing your craft at getting good retraction and good moisture control, and hence something like a laser can help with that.
Well, in my personal experience, it seems like the 2 easiest things, or the easiest thing to be a better dentist is just magnification. Going from naked eye to loops. Any endodontist will tell you that when he got a microscope and just went to 8 to 10 to 12, looking down the canals and seeing everything he missed. And for me, the most amazing thing that CEREC did for me was when you scan that prep, and you're like, oh my God, it looks like a blind man cut it, because you're seeing your prep 40 times larger.
Yeah.
And and I think of all those imprograms I taken where you're looking at them with your naked eye for 5 years. Then you got loops, and then we got that magnifying glass with a light that we'd stick it under. But that just doesn't compete with scanning it and seeing it on a big old computer monitor where every time you scan it the first time, you think, I got to go back and do this. And
Totally
I got to
agree.
go get an end cutting burr or end smoothing burr, or I'm going to hit it with a soft flex disc, or it just. So I think magnification, any form of magnification.
It improves the quality of your care, definitely. It's no different than like if you're doing lecturing or something, you put your slide up on a screen and it's 8 feet tall, and you're going, my gosh, I see all the flaws that I've done in there. And so it makes you a better dentist by seeing this. And so whether it's intraoral scanners or CAD CAM, I think and magnification, it's all helping you to see more so you can provide potentially better care. And so, I think this can do that for you in the same capacity.
And another thing that's good about CAD CAM is I got a friend who, if I did say his name, he would shoot me. His name's Craig Steichen in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's my best friend from dental school. But he bought a CAD CAM, but it was like the toy that motivated him to just explode. I mean, he just ran 20 red lights on the way to work because he and I've seen that with lasers, CAD CAMs, CBC. I always talk about that when my 4 boys when they were little. Eric, Greg, Ryan, and Zach, you put them in the bathtub with no toys, they'd be out in 2 minutes.
Yep.
But you put them in there and threw a bunch of boats and trucks and dinosaurs and sharks, they're in there forever. Same thing with the sandbox. So toys can be a huge motivational thing. I mean, because what's the alternative? Burnout, disease, depression. I hate my job. I'm just doing it for money. I mean, if buying a laser, a CAD CAM, anything makes you, speed on the way to work, you can't afford not to have it.
It's funny you mentioned speeding because we all do it and I love it.
Well, you're into race cars, aren't you?
Yes.
So how did you get into race cars? Tell them your race car
it's
background.
funny. What guy doesn't like driving fast in a race car or a street car and going fast, and wishing
Or
you were
a
a
race
car.
bike.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all have that adrenaline. It just comes with the genes, And so when I got out of dental school and finally had a little time and a little money, I got into doing some go-karts. Best bang for your buck, low to the ground, and very fast power to weight ratio. And so progressive, you want to go faster. But when you see someone go flying out of a go-kart, you realize you got to go to work on Monday, and you can't be doing that. So you start getting into cars that have more protection. And so as it's gone from more and more protection and faster speeds, I fortunately start befriending some IndyCar drivers and other people, and I got a nod this past year to go drive Lamborghinis professionally. And so I got to literally walk into all these huge racetracks and be driving a race car next to ex-Formula One drivers and things. It's like a kid in a candy store. You're getting to walk into the Super Bowl and play. You're like, you kidding me? I'm here? What? And so this year I just got signed with Andretti Racing, and so we're looking to put a package together next week to hopefully go racing for this season. So you're
going to be a race car driver.
I'm a dentist. I've just been lucky to meet some
and
people.
Lamborghini, is that Italian?
Yeah.
And that's owned by Fiat or Volkswagen?
Good question. I don't know who owns Lamborghini currently.
I think Volkswagen. Ryan, who owns Lamborghini?
Look it up. So, I may not drive Lamborghinis this year. It kind of depends on what the sponsors and what Andretti comes up with. If they say I'm driving an Audi or a Ferrari or, whatever, I'll go race it. So it kind of depends on where they want to go with things. But it's nice to, get a professional license, actually get out there and play, which is kind of a childhood dream. If I never got to do it again.
They've pretty much rolled up all the sports cars. So I want to switch to business. You're in California.
Mm-hmm.
It has 5 dental schools, or is it 6 now?
I think it's 6, and they're talking about it in a 7th.
Yeah, is 6 going to be 7, or is it 7?
It's 6, and they're adding 7, I believe.
Adding number 7 or adding 7 more?
They're going to add 1 more to make it 7.
Okay.
Like we don't have enough, right?
There's 40,000 dentists in California. There's 40.
Tough market.
It's the toughest market. How do you? I mean, you're in Newport Beach. You couldn't throw a cat without hitting a dental office.
Yeah.
How the hell do you survive in California? Because there's guys. I mean, seriously, when I'm talking. When I'm lecturing like Kansas and all this, I mean, you'll be having dinner in the Midwest and people say, how do those guys survive? I mean, my town's got, 12,000 people and we only have 6 dentists and we have a draw of 20. How do you survive in awesome. California?
It's funny you say that because occasionally I'll have people call me and ask for some consulting questions on software and technology and things. And they'll be like, well, we're thinking about using brand X and you're currently using it. And they told us to call you to ask you about it. And they're like, so how are you doing? I said, well, I'm typically getting about 20 new patients a month. And they're like, huh? I don't want to use that product. I'm like, well, how many new patients do you get? They're like, we get like 230 a month. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you don't need this tool. You need to figure out how to close the back door so the patients aren't leaving, Because if they're worried about getting patients in there, it was just kind of mind-boggling. Like, I'd love to have that many patients. I could just do 1 month and be finished. So For me, yeah, it's a little challenging. And to make it more challenging, I'm not on any insurance plans, which makes the discussion a little more challenging. My job's a little more difficult. And so, when someone calls in, they're looking for a dentist, and if they're saying, hey, I need someone on my provider list, I'm not one of those guys, and so I've lost a patient. And that's challenging because a lot of the business right now in Southern California is very low-priced, insurance-based dentistry. That being said, there are still plenty of people that want to shop at, let's say Nordstrom's or someplace, and there's always a market for whatever type of service you want to offer. And it's not to say I'm more expensive, or we do things a little different, let's say. And so some people want that type of care or service and are willing to pay a little extra for it. And so having software so I have less employees to manage things cuts down on my overhead. So I just play the game a little differently to make it work for me.
And what software are you talking about?
So, a lot of things you have here currently, like Weave. I implement Weave software, which
out
is
of Utah?
Yeah, voice over IP system that when the patient calls in, if they're an existing patient, it instantly pops up on the computer screen, letting my front office know that, hey, this person is on the phone, and it tells you tasks. So if they called in and just said, hey, I need to know what time my appointment was next week, I forgot or lost my card. And normally the front office may go, oh, yeah, it's next Tuesday. Thanks for calling. We'll see you then. And they hang up. This says, no. Don't forget that Junior's got a birthday this week, and the husband's got an appointment that's past due or coming up, or you have fillings that need to be done for your other son. We need to schedule that. And by the way, your balance is now past due. We need to collect that at the same time. And so it gives you literally a task list of things to do, so you can perform more while that person's on the phone. And so I feel a lot better service and more potential opportunity by having this system running, and so one person does more. Furthermore, it does many other things as far as if you have an open appointment, you can hit a button and just instantly anyone past due, you can send out a text right to their phone, and let's face it, we all have our cell phones right in our pocket. So if someone has an appointment open and they can see their schedule's available, they go, great, I'll take it right now. Other people, we get EOBs back and they need to pay the difference. Well, we can send them a text right then and there saying, your balance is due. You want to take care of that today? And if we have a credit card on file, we'll just ask them if they like us to bill it with the credit card, and they say yes. So it's a lot faster than doing statements, printing them out, running different reports and fabricating those and stuffing envelopes and all the other fun stuff we've had to do over the years that just streamlines the whole process. Other technology like Solution Reach, also out of Utah, funny enough, to go ahead and let patients know, if they're past due or if they've made an appointment, it reminds them when the appointment's coming up, but also to send out social media information to them to let them know new and different things maybe that are happening in your practice, different types of call to action promotions and things, maybe a Mother's Day special or whitening special. That's a great product to send out custom information to all your patients, again, right to their phone where they're going to see it and read it instantly, and hopefully share it with others across social media and colleagues at work. So those are two products that I couldn't say enough great things about. And then, I was talking to this other company, Sumo, while I was here, which I haven't used yet, which sounded like a phenomenal idea as well. So I'm going to see about maybe implementing that one also, which was really interesting for your Google Ads and various type of call tracking, where it tracks a lot of this for you and also lets you know when someone's calling in that they're calling off certain ads. So that made a lot of sense for trying to get people to convert off the internet, that you can track this more quickly by using this software. Two other softwares, if you want to keep rambling on, I love technology.
I know.
So, and this one...
You sound like Beethoven on a piano. I'm not going to stop you.
So some other ones that, I enjoy implementing that you can use on your own, like things like Yext. There's plenty of software.
Like what?
Yext, Y-E-X-T. And there's Reputation Impressions out of San Diego. There's numerous companies, whether they're in dentistry.
YEXT? That's a dental software?
No, it's a regular software. So
okay.
I like going outside of dentistry for some things, certain widgets that work well for businesses, because we are, let's face it, a business. We got to do more. And so Google, their algorithms, they want to see that across all the different search engine platforms, Yellow Pages, Google, Yahoo, any different search directory, you want to have the same information across all of those. Let's face it, for us as dentists to go to all of these sites and claim them ourselves and make sure all of our hours of operation, our address and phone numbers and emails are all correct on there, it's a lot of time and hassle. These companies will do it for you for a nominal fee. They'll go and make sure that all the 500 different search directories out there, they will make it solid across all of them so that Google sees you as being more relevant as far as their algorithm of trying to keep everything consistent. Nice thing to have.
And what's that's Yext?
Yeah. Reputation Impressions San Diego does it also. They're more for I found them in the dental industry, and so Yext was a little less expensive. So I kind of gravitate toward less expensive, same tool basically. Some other things that are out there, there's a widget, a pop-up that I'm using on my website, and it's known as OLARC. And so if you've ever been on one of these websites where the bottom right-hand corner looks like a little file tab, and if you click on it, it says you can talk to us now live. And so that little box pops up and you start chatting with someone live. And so your current website that you have, there is a tool called OLARC that you can implement on your website. And when someone is surfing and they see your site, they can pop on that and quickly ask someone a question. So again, in my front office being efficient, a little box pops up when someone wants to talk to them, and they can instantly write back and forth with this person. For whatever reason they don't want to call, they just want to text. Maybe they're on their phone or something. I don't know. But they write, and we write them right back, which is nice. And that software is free if you have less than 20 engagements a month. And so there are other companies out there that charge you a couple $100s a month for this type of service. Where I see, okay, this product is for free and it's 20 people or less.
And what's the name of that? www.what?
That's OLARC, OLARK.com.
OLARK.com.
Yeah, so I love software. So implementing more of these is just great. And so, to back up on Solution Reach and Weave, one other thing I didn't mention for them is we all want reviews on social media. We all want reviews pushed to Yelp and or Google to help drive traffic, to increase our search engine optimization, so to speak, to let people find us. They have tools now that can push right when the patient leaves. When you hit set complete on your practice management software, a little text goes out to your patient saying, leave us a review. And when they write a review, it doesn't go to a survey or someplace. It drops them right onto your Google page or your Yelp page to leave a review right there instantly. So again, call to action, get it done quickly so that you can build more reviews on the internet to boast yourself there, and increase your profile ranking, so to speak. That's another nice thing to have. And I think there's a couple other companies that are now implementing this type of software just in the last few months. So that's kind of another cool thing that's out there. Websites. You want to go there next?
I love listening. I could listen to you for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm going to keep you here till midnight. Keep going.
Sounds good. All right. So another thing, and I'm biased because I'm going to throw it out there. I'm a partial owner of it. So you don't need to use it, but I'll throw it out. What we did was websites oftentimes can get duplicated. And yes, it looks different maybe visibly, but the coding behind it oftentimes can be very much the same. And so I got disenchanted with some of the companies I had implemented to make my website. When they claimed for my monthly fees, they were optimizing and doing things for it, which I found after the fact they would never tell me what they were doing, what their secret sauce was. So getting disenchanted, I hired a couple guys and we made our own software company. And I come to find that creating content and code doesn't always have to be as hard as it seems, that you can duplicate things, the same as duplicating a Word document and just putting someone else's name on it. And so finding that, I go, let's do something different. And so we came out with a product, again, not for the dental industry, just for users in general that want a website. We made it very user easy, let's say, that you can build a website literally from your smartphone, your iPad, your home computer, and I can change my website right now anytime I want just by taking a photo and updating some content. I don't have to be a coder. I don't have to have some kind of crazy degree in computer content, let's say, or algorithms and things. I can literally just build something as a layperson. And so we did that, and so I've been managing all my own social media as well as SEO on my website for the last 4 years now. And I can put myself at the top of the Google pages very easily just by changing a few things. And it doesn't take me long. So not only am I being a dentist and running a business and having about 5 different side businesses and running my website and social media and driving a race car and having a family, it doesn't have to be as hard as one makes it out to be. So we've done that, and we've actually created a newer product to tackle WordPress, where everyone's using WordPress and using outdated code and problems that Google doesn't find relevant. We created a product that now companies like Hyundai are using and big ad agencies in Los Angeles that are using this software to quickly and easily build really powerful websites that Google just thinks are phenomenal. And so I'm not going to name drop any of these things because I don't want people to go buying or using these because I mentioned it, but we've done some interesting things out there that have taken me even outside of dentistry to do speaking.
Well, they want to know. They want to know.
All right. Well, so
you got to tell. This is Dentistry Uncensored.
All right. So one's called ContentActivator.com.
This is your company?
This is one of the companies that we have, and that's one that I can literally from my cell phone create.
ContentActivator.com. And what is that going to? And if they go to www.contentactivator.com, what are they going to find?
It's free to sign up, and so you can create as many different websites as you want or create one unique website. It's not templates or anything, so you'd have to build something yourself. There is information in there on how to create something as far as asking for help. There's a guide that you can go into, and it'll show you how to do different things, but it's really pretty straightforward. If you think of a website as being one page and having multiple pages beyond that, we consider those blocks. And so you have a full block for a first page, and then you may have a second or third or fourth page, and those are all considered a block. So you may have, let's say, 4 pages. We call it 4 blocks. On any given page, you can have blocks built within that page. So if a page is just your photo, some content, and maybe a call to action, you consider that maybe 3 blocks. And so we can make as many blocks as we want down a page. or just a couple blocks on the page. And we can move them around very easily, just like apps on your iPad when they all start to shimmer and you just move things around. And so putting in content is just a matter of typing in stuff and putting in photos. And so the way that it's built, all of the SEO kind of algorithms and things are built in to have Google compliant code. So you don't have to be a designer or coder to build anything. And so a lot of companies saw this and started contacting us saying, hey, we'd like to build on your platform for our clients. We said, sure. When we saw the growth of this, we started going, well, gee, this one is a phenomenal tool, but let's make it have even more functions so that big design agencies can use it. And that's where we have our newer product called Blux, which is blux.com. Not something you and I necessarily would want to use because the learning curve is going to be a lot heavier, but for designers that build websites and coders, they look at this and go, oh my God, we can do so much more than we used to be able to and a lot quicker and have Google compliant code and responsive design. And so it's interesting to see how this has changed over the years. And I wrote a few things on the Dental Town post about 4 or 5 years ago about responsive design when people were talking about mobile websites and home websites or office websites and how you had to manage two of them. So you're juggling two different things, where I was saying back then use responsive where it's one device and you manage all of it in one spot. It's a lot easier to perform. Back then it didn't really catch on. People weren't really listening when I tried to help and educate. But here we are now. Pretty much everyone should be using responsive. If they're not, Google obviously frowns upon that and will move you down the rankings. So it's been interesting to get involved with other avenues as far as business outside of dentistry and having these huge agencies and companies like Hyundai using our product. And that's going in such an interesting direction to get to speak in front of people outside of dental industry about what we can do and make life easier for them again. More easy and more efficient, potentially more income for people. It's a nice thing to be able to offer again. So it's a win-win for everybody involved.
Man, you are out there, dude. You are a freak. That is amazing. I mean, you are really, really. I'm gonna. Lou Graham finds the best, doesn't he?
Yeah, Lou's done a great job.
Where did he find you? Under a rock or in a cave?
I was at a Kerr roundtable. I did speaking for Kerr for quite a while, and
Kerr,
the Kerr Dental Corporation, which is owned by Danaher now.
Well, Kerr at first got sucked up by what? Cybron got sucked up by Kerr, which got sucked up by Danaher.
Yeah.
And then who do you think who will gobble them up?
The only dog bigger than them now, I think, is Dentsply, right? So,
so what do you think about that? You're on top of the game. What do you think about Dentsply, the largest North American company merging with Sirona, the largest European? What do you think about that marriage?
It's an amazing thing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from it. I think there's a lot of great opportunities, but also I think a lot of the other companies are going to have to raise their game up because now you have a monster out there that's going to be hard to compete with, I think, for many of these smaller companies. And just being in the inside of some of these companies, a lot of these smaller companies are being bought up as we speak. So you got to wonder at some point is there going to be 2 or 3 main huge conglomerates owning all of these little dental chains. We already know how many dental companies obviously make products for other companies. So will those other small companies still be around, or will they all just combine into 1 or 2 massive entities?
So you're a freak, dude. You're a total freak. One of the things, you're so smart. But another thing that you do, what percent of dentists do you think take no insurance? It's got to be small.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Think it is?
I have no way to know. Sometimes I ask my audience, and I'm surprised how many people are insurance free.
It's one thing to be insurance free when you're in Russell, Kansas. And
that's where I was going to go. Yeah.
Okay. That I'm not talking about that because I would say about 4% of dentists are insurance that don't participate in any insurance.
I guarantee you
but
know better
they're all
than
in
I.
rural.
Yeah.
But when you figure that over 50% of America lives in 117 metros, there's no insurance-free practices in those metros, and you are.
Yeah.
Is this something you would advise to my homies, or is that kind of like drinking the purple Kool-Aid then diving in the deep end?
I don't try to pat myself on the back and go, hey, I'm insurance-free.
Did you start that way, or did you drop
I've always been that way.
Okay.
I opened from scratch, which how many guys want to open from scratch nowadays?
And when did you open from scratch? What year was that?
Surprisingly, October 2000, right before the big year of 2001. So it was a scary time back then to be opening from scratch and to be insurance free.
But explain to the kids why 2000. That was 16 years ago. So
September 11th.
My listeners were only 10 years old when that happened.
So when the towers fell, we had a big recession, a lot of problems and concerns in the world, and so the question was, okay, if I'm fee for service, I've got a brand new practice with no patients, basically. How am I going to survive? And so being able to speak well with others, to get along with others, to get them to understand what you can do for them, is a big game changer. And so I spent a lot of time with my patients.
So what year did the towers fall?
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
And this is 2016, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know you're old when you're in a dental school and kids say that they don't remember that.
It's funny to hear, isn't it?
And but that was the only time in my lifetime where I saw America take a knee.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, wow, America took a knee.
Yeah.
That was scary times, wasn't it?
It was very scary. And like I said, to open a business and be sleeping on floors and whatnot going
So you opened a business in 2000. What the hell made you think, I'm just going to, 99% of all your peers in California take not only insurance, but PPOs.
Yep.
And you just come out and say, I ain't taking any of it. I mean, would you say that when you walk, your balls drag on the sidewalk, or,
well, you
or were you just not right in the head?
Bullheaded and stupidity. Yes,
did your mama drop
stubborn,
you? Did your mama drop you when you were a baby?
It's quite possible. It's quite possible. Yeah, very, very stubborn. I had a good idea of what I wanted to do. I'd worked in some higher end offices and had been in private practice for other people as an associate for a few years first, and saw what I thought I needed to know, and said, okay, let me go out and do this. And would I do it again that way? Probably not nowadays. At least not in Southern Cal. If I picked another area that had a little less dentist to patient population ratios, then I might consider it. But nowadays I would tell, and even my associate, I said, you need to get on some insurance plans just so you have those people. And you can always try and convert later if you feel that that's a necessity. The only reason I went in as basically not doing insurance was the whole legality of you cannot charge more than what the insurance says you can. And so at that time, I was like, well, gee, if I want to do high-end cosmetic dentistry, to charge, for like a single veneer on the one front tooth versus doing two to try and match things easier. To do one, you're charging almost the same as doing two, but you save not cutting down the second tooth. My lab bill is going to be ridiculously high. I'm going to spend more time on it, and insurance wouldn't reimburse me enough for my time. So it was kind of do I want to do regular general dentistry like I'm still doing, but be in an insurance network and not be able to do all the fun cosmetic stuff that I want to do in my career, or do I go out of network and be able to charge whatever fee I feel is necessary to get the job done for these cases? But unfortunately, I'm going to have a lot more difficult time because a lot of people want to go to their network provider, at least in Southern California. And so I can't say my way was better, but it's worked out for me, fortunately. And so doing things like Toastmasters, doing Carnegie training for public speaking, I think those are very valuable.
I can't imagine you needing to go to Toastmasters.
Hey, that's
or
what got me to be where I am
speaking.
now.
Oh, my God.
Nobody wants to public speak when you're a kid. No one wants to get on stage. And so I was the same way. Bruce Christman at UCLA, my mentor, my kind of second father, pushed me into lecturing when I was at UCLA. I did my first lecture at the AAED
How's
meeting.
Bruce doing?
Bruce is fabulous.
How old is he now?
Good question. I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean,
He's in his 70s.
He's in his 70s.
He's got to be in his 70s. Like
Did you still talk to him?
Yeah, I usually lecture once or twice a year up there for
Oh,
him.
my God.
Aesthetic Professionals in Tarzana.
He was my mentor when I got out of school. I'm out of cards. Ryan, do you have one of my cards?
Yeah, sure do.
Tell Bruce Crispin. I mean, I remember when I got out of school in 87, I heard him lecture. It was love at first sight. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy was on top of the world in 87. I didn't know he was still...
Yeah, he's got his own private teaching facility.
And he had his own lab.
Yeah, he still does. He's got a lab and teaching facility. Awesome.
Will you tell him I want to podcast him so bad?
I certainly will. Yeah, no problem. Happy to do that for you. Where were we?
Well, I'm going to switch gears to this.
Yeah.
Okay. This dentist is out in the Midwest. I mean, when I was born and raised in Kansas, and we all understood.
I was born in Minnesota.
Were you really?
Yeah.
In
Wayzata, Minneapolis suburb.
Wow. My sister lives in Lake Elmo.
Cool.
We all knew in Kansas that everything starts on the coast and gets to Kansas 10 years later. I mean, we all knew that. We weren't stupid. I mean, when your tallest building is a grain silo and you look at, Manhattan and San Fran, I mean, we're not dumb. But
some of the best people in the world out there.
They are. They're salted there. What would you say to a guy who's sitting there listening to this podcast on the way to work and he says, dude, you don't get it. I mean, my practice has been flat for 10 years.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. Nothing's going on. What could this guy do who's been flat for 10 years to start bumping up, to get back on the road of growth?
It's hard to say without
because he's going to sit there and say, "Dude, I'm in Kansas."
Yeah, it doesn't relate.
We don't have boom or bust. I mean, when you talk about the housing starts plummeted. I mean, we never had housing starts. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it's just, and when you look at America, the Midwest is the lion's share. And they don't have boom, they don't have bust. It's just it's the same old industries for 100 years.
Yeah.
What is some adrenaline advice you could give to these guys besides racing Lamborghinis to start getting his practice up? Well, you speak for Catapult.
Yeah.
Start giving some Catapult advice.
Well, obviously I'm not a dental consultant. I'm a dentist. I do fillings just like everyone else. But I couldn't claim to be able to tell someone how to change their personal business because every business is different. But I will say I think that just like any business outside of dentistry, every business have a niche. Look at the businesses that are doing well and why they're thriving. Read some of the books by some famous people like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Books. There's a book out there on the care with the magic of Disney, or the Magic Kingdom, I think it's called. It's a book on how Disney takes care of its customers, the little things they do behind the scenes every night by painting the grounds. The book by the Ritz-Carlton about their customer care. There's a lot of things you can look at and see how certain companies, whether they're high-end companies like you think of like Nordstrom's or Ritz-Carlton, to other companies like Walmart that are doing extremely well. You got to look at what type of product you're offering. And if you're offering the same product as everyone else, then maybe you want to deviate from that a little bit. So you do offer something a little different so that patients can perceive a difference. Or maybe you want to research your existing patients, do a little poll and see what they perceive about your practice or why they come to your practice. Find out more about what you're offering and why, and then try and determine what maybe you could do different. And sometimes bringing an outside consultant in helps for that kind of thing. But I think software can help streamline. I'm amazed how many offices sometimes have tons of employees. And I'm like going, man, I can't imagine having that many employees. That's like one of your number one overheads. Streamline it. Add some technology and software. Depending on what the office technology has to offer to the patients, maybe new technology brings in new people. They start getting a buzz and talk about how you're different because you have something different that they've never seen before or implemented in other offices. There are things you can do to add, whether it be treatments or technology or services that are different, that maybe the patients always just perceive the same thing and there's no sizzle there anymore. And so you want to add some kind of new hype sizzle that gets people maybe motivated to come in. So I think those are some things you might look at. Can't claim those are going to help any business, but I think those are things you might want to start looking at. But again, working in California is a unique entity, so I can't claim to know what's going to happen elsewhere. But I think those are things I would look at personally.
You epitomize the statement, all leaders are readers. I mean, you're out there and outer space, and you are name dropping books. I mean, you're a reader, obviously. You
got to learn from other people. I mean, face it, we all have walked different lives. We all do business differently, and so I think you can glean something from everyone that you come in contact with.
I want to circle back all the way to the beginning of our seminar. You're a laser freak. If my homies out there were sitting there saying, I want to get a laser, what would be your first laser? What would be your second laser? What would be your third laser? What would be your first laser? If you're talking to 8,000 dentists right there, and probably what percent of them you think don't even have a laser?
I saw research just a year or two ago, and I think you guys do a nice research among the townies to see who has what. But the last one I saw was like 59% was one research.
You want to know the truth?
What do you got for numbers?
Can I tell you?
I'm sure you got good ones.
A confession. This will be blessed be Father, for I've sinned. It's been 6 weeks since my last confession. I opened up at 87. I can't even make this stuff up. This patient called, and I had this tracking. When I had my prescription pads made. I also had getting to yes prescriptions made. So if someone called and asked for something, I didn't have it. You had to write down the name, the phone number, what they asked for, because I knew business was supply and demand. So I just want to do what they're demanding. So I tracked all my no's. Like, are you open Saturday? Or do you take this insurance? Or do you treat a kid? Whatever. And I was out of school like 3 days. I was open like 3 days. And someone said, does he have a laser? Is he a laser dentist? And she said, no. And I didn't know what to do, and I panicked. I didn't have any money. I just opened up a practice. So I ran over to Radio Shack, and I bought a laser pointer. And I laid it right by the front desk, just so she could say, yeah, he's got a laser, because it's a helium laser.
There you go.
But so that was my Band-Aid, so we could say yes until I figured out what I was going to do with the laser. It was honest. It was not a lie.
But
I think Bill Clinton would have approved.
Yeah, exactly. But that goes back to the same thing you asked me for people in the middle of the country. What should they do? It's like, well, you did what I said. You did it way back then. You thought of the same thing. Is I polled my patients to see maybe what I could do differently. And that's where I would start there. So as far as lasers, I'm big in a lot of things. And so, I'm here lecturing on behalf of EMD. So consider me biased, but I've had just about every laser out there. And I still have CO2s. I had an ND YAG, and I've got tons of diodes. But I would say for a dentist who wants to get into lasers, everything we deal with has tissues around it. You have to manage tissues. You have to manage fluids and blood. And so one of the ways you can manage all of these is with one tool, which is a laser. Cheapest laser you can get is a diode laser. It's a very inexpensive, there's no moving parts, simple to operate and learn how to use, minimal learning curve, and it, like I said earlier in the podcast, $3,500 is what their show special is. CE Snyder 16, I think, is the code they're using here. So feel free to call in and say you were here at the meeting and use that and get your discount. I'm sure AMD will love me for that. But normally I think they're like $4,500, so you get like $1,000 off. But again, when we bought them, $35,000, $50,000.
You hear that? You're listening to my free podcast for free, and you just got $1,000 off. With what was the code?
CE Snyder SNYDER 16. Okay.
Oh, because he's at Townie Meeting 2016?
Yeah.
Or
that's the code they gave me to hand out.
The code is SNYDER 16.
So CE.
And let me tell you why. Can I tell you why I love Alan? Okay, so AMD Laser stands for Alan Miller Design Lasers. The reason I love Alan Miller is my heroes, when I got out of school, one of the first CEs I went to was the Pink Institute. Mm-hmm. And I listened to this guy, Erwin Becker, talk about how there were like A patients, B patients, C patients, D patients. And when he started describing the D patient, that patient, he described my entire family reunion of the Farrans from Wichita to Parsons, Kansas. And I thought, really? So I'm paying you money to learn that I should not treat my entire family of trailer trash from Kansas? And I always like the guys like Herb Kelleher, who used his God-given brain talent to keep one eye on the customer and one eye on cost, to drive down costs so that my trailer trash family can have the freedom to afford to fly. And when I got out of school, a diode was my first diode laser, which was a YAG. I forgot the name of it.
ND YAG.
It was an ND YAG in
Premier
87.
ADT.
ADT.
Got it. Lecture for them
You're
too.
giving away your age. It was $50,000.
Yeah, it was. And they're still expensive.
And then here's some Hoosier, Alan Miller from Indiana, of all places, who drives down the cost to $3,500.
Thanks.
Glidewell. I mean, you go in Dental Town, all these people, Glidewell is the punching bag for cheap stuff. But you know what Glidewell does? Glidewell has driven down the price of a crown so that my pedigree has the freedom to afford to save their teeth. And I romantically, when you're born from nothing, you romantically love the guys who use their brain to drive down costs for the mass. It was Henry Ford who said, you know what, anybody can make a car for the classes.
Yeah.
But he said, you make a car for the masses, you'll make so much money, you'll leave the class. So I love the Alan Miller stories in America, who can take something that in other countries would only be available for the kings and the queens and the dictators and the people born into it, to the common man.
I totally agree. But to take it a step further, think about the product. Quality product. Top Townie Award winner for what, like 6 years now or something, and Ortho Town for a couple of years as well. Phenomenal product, and everyone says the same.
But driving down cost is a smart deal. Like people say, well, Southwest Airlines is cheap.
Yeah.
Southwest Airlines is the only major airline in America that a plane's never crashed and someone died.
Let's knock on wood and hope that doesn't happen.
But isn't that amazing? I mean, you take the U.S. Air and all these big highfalutin deals where it's all big money, and they have the special places that you can have at the airport, have a drink.
Yeah.
Well, U.S. Air had U.S. Air 7 years in a row they had a plane fall out of the sky and everyone died. Mm-hmm. And here's Southwest Airlines, which is low cost. And why did they not have? Because U.S. Air was flying 727s, 737s, 747s, Airbus, L1011. The mechanics can fix 7 different planes, and they were falling out of the sky. But in driving down costs, Herb Kelleher said, we're only going to have one plane.
There you go.
A Boeing 737. So all of our mechanics will know how to fix it. We'll have all the parts at all the airports. So driving down costs oftentimes drives up quality. I mean, a $35 DVR today is better than an $800 one 10 years ago.
Agree.
So when you know what even Einstein said, if you can't explain it, you don't even know what you're talking about. And if you really know what when people tell me, I really suck in math, my first thought is, you had a shitty math teacher. Because if you really had a good math teacher, you'd know math. So don't think you're bad in math. You just had a shitty math teacher. I mean, Ryan, I've seen you, who is one of the most gifted piano players I've ever seen. I've seen you teach people how to play piano in an hour. And that's just because, how many times have you taught someone how to play piano in an hour? 20 times. And the reason is you so understand the piano, you can transfer that knowledge in an hour. But
well, I'm sure you got passion for it as well. You got to have passion for what you do.
That's your little brother calling, Zach.
And just like Howard, I'm passionate in business. That's what I got,
Oh, Zach's calling. He's gonna need a credit card for his car to get fixed. So I already know what that call's about. But I got 4 sons. If they call, it's a 90% chance they need money. But anyway, so we talked about this guy's out there. His practice is flat. It's not going anywhere. You're with Catapult. Mm-hmm. Give him some advice. What can he do to catapult himself? You talked about a lot of things.
I would obviously assess what I'm currently doing, assess my employees and what we're offering, assess the patients that come to my practice, what they perceive about my practice, why they come to the practice, what they think is a benefit. I would then go in and look at the techniques that I have to offer to my patients, see if there's any techniques that I'm not offering currently that maybe I could. Is there any technology currently available that maybe they're not implementing that could bring in more patients or could create more buzz, let's say, about, oh, this doctor is now using this new technique or has now implemented this technology, which maybe some other dentists in the area don't have. I'm just trying to think of some way to carve out some little niche that could be a little different. Implementing some software. Depending on how things are going, there's plenty of great consultants out there that might be able to assist in helping as well. Because again, I'm a dentist.
Can you name any consultants? Can you name any? Drop some names.
I'm weird because I haven't really used any. I'm a big fan of All-Star Dental Academy because
All-Star
Dental Academy.
What is that?
It's online training, and so when I'm not in the office, my team is training. So it's hard for me to find time to sit with my staff and train them. And so to have a company that offers a product to train them to be better.
Who's the founder? Where's that out of? And who's the founder?
Alex Nottingham out of Florida, I believe is where.
Oh, I know Alex.
Yeah, great product.
And his most adorable wife.
Yes, Heather.
Heather,
yes.
And he's another bald beauty. You notice all the best people in dentistry are bald. Have you noticed that?
Yes, mine's getting
Have you
thinner,
noticed that?
so I guess I'll be joining the club at some point here.
So Alex has, that's right. So he has the All-Star Academy.
Dental Academy.
And what's his website? www.allstaracademy. And his name is Alex Nottingham.
Correct. But
and if you put in the code Heather, it's all free.
You know what? If you do call them and say Heather and that you heard Dr. Snyder, they will give you a discount. And if you go to my, I have a website, DenTools, DenToolz.com. Usually it's where I put all my handouts for my lectures, but there's all kinds of offerings there from all these different companies that I utilize in my practice or mention that are great offerings. There are discount codes for all of these, so people can go on there and get discounts at All-Star or Weave or Solution Reach or AMD.
And where are all these codes at?
On DenTools.com.
What is DenTools?
DenTools is something I came up with. It's DenToolz.com. And so basically tools
www.DenToolz.com.
Yeah. So DenTools, it's Dental Tools, but Dental Tools was already taken as a domain name, so I made it a Z, so DenTools. And so basically I wanted a way that I hate sitting through lectures because I've sat through some Pankey, some Dawson, and other things, and many other great lecturers out there to learn things, just as anyone will. And so I said, you know what? I'm tired of getting these 4-page handouts that don't have enough information, and I can't jot it down fast enough. Let's face it, I've sat through your lectures. You got great pearls and all kinds of information. I can't get it down fast enough.
That's because you're not on meth.
Yeah, right. And so, then you can buy a video or a tape or whatever and try and go back and listen to it, but you don't always have the time. And so I said, you know what? I want to give everyone that comes to my lecture every one of my slides. But I want to give it to them in a format that isn't burning down 150 trees at a time. So I said, all right, if I put it as a PDF on a website, they can download it. And if I'm lecturing here this week and in Canada next week and Colorado the week after, I can keep putting up different PDFs for people to download while they're in my class. And then I thought, wow, there's all these opportunities for them to get discounts on what I think are phenomenal products that I'm implementing. Let me put them on there. So instead of me saying it, they got to try and remember to jot it down, and hopefully they can read their chicken scratch like me later on, a week later, to try and implement. And so all the different things that I feel are huge for my business to be successful are on there. And these companies have said, hey, we'll give you, we'll give your attendees discounts. And so I've said, okay, let me put these discounts on there, or a link to the discount, or a link to the person that you need to go talk to. So like Heather at All-Star Dental Academy or Solution.
Have you posted that on Dental Town?
I just told everyone today or yesterday in my lecture, go to my site and here's all the information.
But there's so on Dental Town we have 51 categories, and endo, perio, pedo, blah blah. One of them is dental pearls.
Yeah,
you should make a post on dental pearls to go to the website there. I mean, that would
sure. Yeah, not a problem. Happy to do that.
So it's www.dentaltools.com. Tools, TOOLZ.com.
Not dental tools, it's Den Tools. DENTOOLZ. Den
Oh,
Tools.
DENTOOLZ.
.com. And so that's changing weekly. I mean, wherever I'm lecturing, I'm changing that in a new PDF. I never do the same lecture twice. There's certainly components of my lectures that may be similar or similar slides, but for the most part, it's always a different lecture. And so there are different things that I come across and I will try and pay for using and find that, hey, this is great. I need to tell other people about it. And by doing so, the manufacturer may say, hey, yeah, we'll give them a discount if they want to come from your program. So I keep putting stuff up that worked for me, and they may work for some dentists and maybe not for others. But
okay, last question.
Yeah.
So she just got out of school. She graduated this year. And because most of my listeners probably, they're like I say, I think 20% are juniors or seniors in dental school, and the rest have just been out 5 years. And, she was in dental school. She basically learned cleaning, exams, x-rays, fillings, crowns. And she sees, I could learn how to place implants. I could learn how to do Invisalign. I could learn CAD-CAM. I could do laser. But I can't afford to go to all these courses at once.
Right.
She wants the best return on investment because she has $300,000 student loans.
Yeah.
Besides a filling and a crown and a cleaning and a single canal, root canal, what tools in her hammer should she be learning next? Where she
Good question.
I mean, sometimes they think, well, should I learn occlusion? Should I learn sleep medicine?
Great questions.
Should I learn Invisalign? There's so much stuff.
Speaking of Al
that
Miller.
wasn't covered. So what give them the first three things they should learn.
No problem. First thing I'll say is if they're 3 to 5 years out, if they're that type of person, they have some experience, I'm looking for an associate. Give me a call. How about that? Okay, so if they're right out of school, first year out and they're wanting things to learn, here's what I find coming out of school is that most of us want to gravitate towards, I want to get my mastership in AGD, so I'm going to go take a ton of programs to get my AGD. I'd say that's a mistake. You don't get any business training in dental school. Now, you, as your MBA would prove, have got a lot of education in business, and you've shown through everything you've done and helped all the townies and everyone else become better business people. And so I think that's the first place I would go if I'm coming out of school, because it's tough to compete nowadays unless you're going to an area there's not a lot of dentists. So
you say learn business first.
I say go learn some business. It doesn't have to be going through an MBA at that point. I think it's a good thing to have. But I'd say personally, I would learn how to do a little bit of business. And my most important thing, and I think it's what made me where I am now, get a mentor and learn how to speak well with people. Hence Carnegie training, Toastmasters, both those very inexpensive. You can do after hours, after work, etc. If you're a good speaker and you can elaborate things, I think that's huge. From there, get a mentor to help you. The next thing I think that's important, it depends on your business and where you want to go, but if you want to be a sleep apnea dentist, then yeah, you're going to have to go train in sleep apnea. But I think the majority of us doing regular dentistry, in my eyes, occlusion for me was the thing I needed to know how to do, because if you can have good occlusion, your materials last. Versus you can put in whatever, and if it starts breaking and failing, patients get disenchanted, you get a little concerned. And so I think for me, and I think it's a good thing for anyone, is learning more on occlusion, because I feel like we didn't get enough in school. And so when I went to the FACE organization, FACE.org, I think it is.
That's Michael Maroon?
No, it's funny, they're the same one. No, this is Tom Basta and Jeff Bruscia. This is all old school nathology.
Jeff Bruscia. He's San Francisco.
Yeah.
I thought FACE was Michael Maroon.
There was a program like this. Actually, I think it's facedentistry.org. But,
FACEdentistry.
I think it's facedentistry.org. But FACE is the longest running continuing education program out there currently. And so they teach occlusion and basic bread and butter dentistry, as well as all the way up to full nathological panographic tracings.
Are you still friends with Bruscia?
Yes.
Did you talk to him much?
A little bit here and there.
Tell him I'm going to do a podcast with him. I've known that guy.
I will tell him too. I'll send him both a card.
I've known that guy for 30 years.
Great guy.
He's an amazing man.
So my dentistry changed when I went through that program in 2006. I've never looked back, and I've never been happier. And so I think out of all
www.face.
I think it's Face Dentistry or Face Academy. We can look it up, but and you might be able to post it as a link or something after the fact, so we don't take the last few minutes. But that changed my dentistry. Now, granted, everyone's going to practice differently, but for me, learning occlusion opened up my eyes as far as why problems
Okay, can I ask you the occlusion question though?
Go for it.
They specifically ask, they email and specifically ask, it sounds like there's two occlusion camps. There
are.
Neuromuscular and there's CR, Panky Dawson.
Yep.
They both cost money. I just got out of school. I'm $350,000 in debt. Which one do I learn?
Those are all going to be real expensive. I wouldn't start there. And so I said, first I would learn some speaking and some business savvy. I would hone my skills for everyday bread and butter techniques. I would then eventually start to extrapolate into other areas, whether you want to learn more on root canals or implants, whether you want to go into occlusion. You need to decide for yourself what you want to be better at.
But if you wanted to learn, but the question is just occlusion.
Yeah, for
neuromuscular or CR.
I think you need to know a little of both personally, because I think everything has a place for certain patients. There's not one tool that works for everybody out there. I would say 90% of your patients you can do whatever and they're going to be okay. That 10%, you better have some tools because they may be a little more challenging. So neuromuscular has its place. I think you should look at all of them and also find out which philosophy fits into your practice and your hand skills. Because, think of religion. I'm not going to tell someone they have to be one religion if they're another, right? So I think you should learn all of them to be educated on all of them because they all have a good place to be implemented. Me personally...
my two oldest sisters are Catholic nuns, and avoid that one. That's all I can say. Go to all the other religions. Avoid that one. That one is a little crazy.
Yeah. So for me personally, this just opened my eyes because I had been through other programs and sat in them, and they just didn't fulfill my needs. And so when I went through this one, it just opened my eyes, and it just changed what I did and increased my practice. The way that I look at things, just like a light bulb went on. It was phenomenal.
It's Face Academy or
I think it's Face Dentistry. I think it's facedentistry.org or it could be .com. We can both look it up here. I got it. facedentistry.org. Foundation for Advanced Continuing Education.
What?
Facedentistry.org. FACE dentistry.org. And they used to be based out of San Francisco area. They're now based out of Anaheim. So right in my backyard.
Wow.
But that made all the difference in the world.
And that's Jeff Bruce's?
Tom Bossa is the one that started it. And so he's a anathologist from way back in the day. And so he knows all the big names and has met and worked with all of them. And Bruce is one of his colleagues there at the facility and does a lot of speaking on their behalf. And couldn't say enough great things about his lectures and programs and what he's taught me over the years.
Okay, so I'm going to be very specific. I'm at a school, and forget occlusion, forget business, speaking, everything you already said, amazing advice.
What next?
But if I had to pick between placing implants, sleep medicine, Invisalign, what would the answer be? Put them in 1, 2, or 3.
I think Invisalign is probably the quickest, easiest thing to get into, and it pays for itself rather quickly. I would say implants, a little more expensive to get into in the training probably. So I'd say that'd probably be second if I'm tight on money. Sleep apnea, phenomenal. You can get some training, and the appliances and things are easy to implement. But I'd say getting sleep apnea medicine type of dentistry going in your practice is a lot more challenging to get going unless you're maybe in areas where there's an absence of it. So I think that's going to take a lot more time to generate. I think it's very lucrative and a great place to be, and it can help your patients live longer. But I think it's a lot more challenging to implement for someone right out of school. So I would leave that probably as my third, but definitely on my list of top 3 things to implement.
Dude, I think you're one of the smartest guys I've ever met in dentistry.
I think you are.
We're in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for spending an hour with me and my homies. You're an amazing man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're a legend in my eyes. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Will you come back someday, a year from now? Will you do it again?
Love to. Talk
okay,
more.
promises,
All right.
promises.
You got it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, my pleasure.